There is a certain type of machine that changes what people expect from performance, not through loud design or flashy marketing, but through quiet confidence and overwhelming capability. It is the kind of car that wears restraint like armor, that looks like it belongs in a corporate parking lot but performs like something born for the racetrack. When engineers decide to hide muscle under modest sheet metal, they create legends. This is a story about power disguised as practicality, about how precision engineering can turn an everyday commuter into a storm on wheels. It is also a reminder that sometimes, the most extraordinary machines do not shout their purpose, they whisper it in supercharged tones. Today, we are diving into one of those machines, a car that defined a new era of speed and subtlety for the modern sports sedan. Stick around, hit like and subscribe if you love stories of engineering brilliance, and comment which performance legend you want covered next. In 2003, Mercedes-Benz introduced the W211 E55 AMG, a car that would come to define the meaning of a super sedan for a generation. On the surface, it was a mid-size executive car, well-tailored, refined, and luxurious in the way Mercedes had long perfected. But under that calm exterior was a heart built for chaos, a hand-assembled, supercharged 5.4-liter V8 known internally as the M113K. This engine, combined with AMG's obsessive tuning, transformed the E55 into one of the fastest four-door cars in the world at the time. It wasn't just impressive, it was startling. The W211 E55 AMG emerged in an era when performance sedans were still finding their balance between comfort and aggression. The idea of a car that could ferry a family to dinner one moment and outpace a sports car the next was almost surreal. Mercedes didn't just achieve that balance, it dominated it. The foundation for this transformation was the M113K power plant, a masterpiece of brute force and engineering discipline. With 469 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque, it redefined what a street-ready sedan could deliver. The Supercharger, an Eaton twin-screw unit, provided instant boost, giving the E55 the kind of response few turbocharged engines could match. Press the throttle, and the car surged forward with unrelenting torque, as if pulled by an invisible magnet toward the horizon. Yet what truly amazed drivers was how composed it remained during that onslaught. The E55 didn't thrash or fight, it surged with dignity. This contrast became the car's defining character. Mercedes-AMG achieved that composure through careful tuning of the 5-speed automatic transmission, the suspension, and the braking system. While some enthusiasts mocked the 5-speed for being old-fashioned, AMG knew exactly what it was doing. The gearbox was strong, smooth, and capable of handling the massive torque without hesitation. In an era before dual-clutch systems became standard for performance cars, this transmission's programming gave the E55 both reliability and immediacy. It downshifted with purpose, held gears through corners, and launched with precision. In a straight line, the E55 AMG was capable of 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.3 seconds, numbers that put it firmly in supercar territory. But straight-line speed was only part of the story. The W211 E55 AMG had to live up to its badge in every aspect of driving, including comfort and control. The engineers used Mercedes' Airmatic suspension system as a base and reprogrammed it for a more assertive ride. The result was a car that could glide over uneven roads yet tighten its body control the instant corners appeared. It never felt harsh, but it always felt alert. The steering, hydraulic and precise, gave the driver a sense of confidence that few big sedans could offer at the time. Unlike lighter, sportier cars, the E55 did not dart, it swept. Corners were handled with momentum and grace rather than twitchy precision, which made it both fast and forgiving. Inside, the W211 E55 AMG balanced luxury with purpose. The seats were supportive but not punishing, the materials rich but subtle. It was a place designed to make speed feel civilized. There were no unnecessary gimmicks, No bright red accents or overstyled details. The cabin whispered its intent. That subtlety was exactly what made the E55 stand out among performance cars of the early 2000s. You didn't need to shout about its capability, you simply needed to experience it. Owners loved that dual nature. One moment it was a quiet luxury car, the next, it was something that could leave sports coupes behind on the Autobahn. What also made the E55 special was its sense of restraint. Mercedes-AMG could have made it louder, stiffer, or more dramatic, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was authority through refinement. Every sound, every gear change, every steering input was deliberate. This discipline made the W211 generation feel different from its rivals. It wasn't about chaos, it was about command. Where other manufacturers pursued flash and noise, AMG built a car that made you feel powerful just by sitting behind the wheel. It made acceleration feel effortless, not theatrical. That subtlety was part of its allure. However, the W211 E55 AMG was not without its complexities. With great power came serious engineering challenges. The supercharger added heat and mechanical stress, so AMG had to design robust cooling systems and durable components to ensure reliability. The braking system, featuring massive cross-drilled rotors, had to tame a car that could reach well over 150 miles per hour. The tires were chosen carefully to balance grip with comfort, and the electronics had to keep the car safe without feeling intrusive. The result was a machine that delivered near supercar performance while still maintaining Mercedes' reputation for everyday usability. As the years went by, the E55 AMG's personality began to stand out even more. The sound of its supercharger became a signature, a faint, high-pitched whine that hinted at what was happening under the hood. Enthusiasts came to recognize that sound instantly. It was the call sign of an era when AMG favored mechanical character over digital refinement. That noise, that surge of torque, and that unshakable composure made the W211 a cult favorite. It represented the perfect midpoint between old-school muscle and modern engineering precision. The early 2000s were also a time when Mercedes-Benz was evolving its relationship with AMG. What had once been a small, independent performance shop was now fully integrated into the brand's corporate structure. The W211 E55 AMG became a proof of concept for what that partnership could produce, factory-built excellence with the soul of a tuner car. It demonstrated that AMG could push boundaries without sacrificing quality or comfort. For Mercedes, it was a strategic triumph. For enthusiasts, it was a dream realized. As the W211 E55 AMG gained popularity, it began to influence how people thought about performance sedans in general. It was no longer enough for a car to be fast, it had to be livable. It had to make sense every day. The E55 proved that you didn't have to compromise between practicality and passion. That idea would go on to shape the next 2 decades of performance car design across the industry. And yet, even as technology advanced, few cars captured that same analog intensity combined with luxury calm. By the time the W211 generation phased out, it had left an unmistakable mark. The next AMG models would chase higher horsepower numbers, quicker shifts, and more advanced electronics. But something about the E55's raw simplicity kept it special. It was the last of the truly mechanical AMGs before the digital revolution took over. Its engine had character, its transmission had weight, and its performance felt earned rather than programmed. To drive one today is to experience a snapshot of AMG's golden age, a moment when power, precision, and understatement came together in perfect proportion. That is the foundation of the story. But to understand why the W211 E55 AMG remains so revered, we need to explore the deeper philosophy behind its creation, the choices, compromises, and ambitions that shaped its character. Because beneath its calm surface lies a far more complex narrative of innovation, rivalry, and the pursuit of perfection. And that story begins not on the road, but inside the minds of the engineers who built it. The Mercedes-Benz W211 E55 AMG was not born from marketing strategy, it was born from obsession. AMG's engineers in a falterback wanted to create something that defied classification, a sedan that could outpace pure sports cars yet never lose its composure. In this second phase of its story, the details behind that mission come to light, the methods, the internal debates, and the engineering artistry that made the E55 more than just another fast Mercedes. Every part of the car, from its supercharged heart to its suspension geometry, told a story of people who believed that luxury and aggression could coexist. The M113K engine was the centerpiece of that belief. It wasn't just powerful, it was deliberate. AMG engineers chose a supercharger instead of turbochargers for one simple reason: immediacy. They wanted torque on demand, with no hesitation. The Eaton twin-screw unit they selected produced 11.6 psi of boost, making the engine deliver full torque almost instantly. This decision gave the W211 E55 AMG its defining feel, a relentless surge of thrust from idle to redline. But that kind of performance came at a cost. The extra heat from the supercharger required a sophisticated cooling setup, including a dedicated intercooler system and upgraded radiators. This was not a simple bolt-on power upgrade, it was a complete redesign of the car's thermodynamics. Each M113K engine was hand-built by a single AMG technician following the brand's famous one-man, one-engine philosophy. This wasn't a marketing gimmick, it ensured precision and accountability. Every engine bore a plaque with the builder's signature, a silent promise of craftsmanship. That kind of detail mattered because this car wasn't just about performance, it was about integrity. AMG didn't want explosive bursts of power that faded after a few runs. They wanted consistency, lap after lap, mile after mile. The W211 E55 AMG could cruise across continents without breaking a sweat and then dominate a track day without apology. While the engine drew headlines, the chassis was where the E55's personality truly emerged. Mercedes engineers started with the standard W211 platform, known for its rigidity and refinement. AMG then re-engineered key components, thicker anti-roll bars, stiffer bushings, and adaptive airmatic suspension calibrated for precision without harshness. The system continuously adjusted damping based on road conditions, load, and driving style. This made the E55 remarkably adaptable. On smooth highways, it floated gracefully. In corners, it tightened its stance and felt smaller than it was. This flexibility was rare at the time and still impressive today. But even with all this sophistication, the E55 was not perfect. Its heavy curb weight, around 4,000 pounds, was always present, and under extreme cornering, physics made itself known. Yet that mass also contributed to its sense of stability. At high speeds, it felt unshakable, like it was carving through air rather than cutting against it. The combination of the supercharged V8 and the solid chassis made long-distance travel addictive. It could cover ground faster than almost any other sedan while keeping its passengers surrounded by silence and leather. Inside AMG's development center, there were debates about how far to push the car's character. Some argued for more noise and aggression, others for refined balance. The final product reflected a careful compromise. The exhaust was tuned for a deep, restrained note that hinted at power rather than announcing it. The steering feel was weighted and deliberate, prioritizing control over twitchiness. The automatic transmission, though not the latest technology, was chosen because it could handle the massive torque and deliver smooth shifts. It became part of the car's personality, a reminder that brute strength could still feel elegant. What truly elevated the W211 E55 AMG was its dual identity. To the casual observer, it was an executive sedan. To those who knew, it was a monster in disguise. The restrained design language was intentional, no giant wings or exaggerated vents. Just subtle clues, the larger brakes, the wider tires, the discreet AMG badging. That subtlety became a badge of honor among enthusiasts. Driving an E55 meant understanding the power beneath you without feeling the need to display it. It was confidence in mechanical form. In the world of high-performance cars, there's always a question of balance. How much comfort can you keep before you compromise speed? How much performance can you add before you lose civility? The W211 E55 AMG struck that balance perfectly. You could drive it to work, attend a business meeting, and on the way home, unleash enough power to embarrass sports cars. It didn't ask you to choose between roles, it played both effortlessly. That made it not only a great machine but a statement about engineering philosophy. Over time, the W211 E55 AMG gained a reputation for reliability compared to many high-performance cars of its era. The M113K engine, despite its complexity, proved remarkably durable when properly maintained. Owners found that it could handle hundreds of thousands of miles with minimal issues. This toughness only added to its legend. While some rivals became fragile with age, the E55 remained a powerhouse, still capable of startling acceleration decades later. Enthusiasts began to see it as a benchmark for usable performance, a car that could still humble modern machinery with little more than maintenance and respect. In the years following its release, the E55 also became a favorite among tuners and collectors. The robust engine responded eagerly to modest modifications. With upgraded pulleys, intakes, and software, it could easily surpass 500 horsepower. Yet even in stock form, it never felt lacking. It was already operating near the limits of usable street performance. This tunability added another layer to its appeal. The W211 wasn't just a finished product, it was a platform, a canvas for those who wanted to explore the upper reaches of mechanical potential. But beyond numbers, the W211 E55 AMG represented a shift in how Mercedes and AMG viewed their customers. This was a car for drivers who wanted to feel connected to the machine without giving up refinement. It marked a transition from the raw, analog era into the beginnings of electronic control and digital assistance. Later models would bring more horsepower, more gears, and more computer intervention. Yet none captured the same balance of simplicity and sophistication. The E55 was mechanical enough to feel alive but advanced enough to feel civilized. What made the W211 E55 AMG endure was its honesty. It didn't rely on marketing illusions or artificial drama. It delivered what it promised: power, precision, and poise. When you started it, you knew what to expect. When you floored it, it delivered exactly that, every single time. That consistency built trust. It was a car you could depend on whether you were crossing a state or chasing a personal best. Few vehicles of its kind could make that claim with the same confidence. Underneath all the technology and polish was a simple truth: the E55 AMG was built by people who love driving. You could sense it in the way it responded, the way it breathed, the way it carried its weight. There was pride in every detail. It wasn't just a car made to fill a segment, it was a car made to make a statement. The engineers behind it weren't trying to impress a focus group, they were chasing perfection on their own terms. The legacy of the Mercedes-Benz W211 E55 AMG is larger than its specifications. When production ended, it didn't just leave behind a car, it left behind a philosophy. This final chapter of its story is about what the E55 represented, what it inspired, and why it continues to stand as one of the most respected high-performance sedans ever made. Its influence echoes through modern AMG models, through rival brands, and even through the expectations of everyday drivers who learned that luxury and raw performance could live in perfect harmony. After the W211 E55 AMG's approach to performance evolved rapidly. The introduction of the naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8 in later models marked a move toward even higher horsepower, more advanced electronics, and a louder, more theatrical experience. Yet, for many enthusiasts, something was lost in that transition. The E55's character was defined by subtlety and precision. Its power delivery felt organic, almost analog. Later cars were faster on paper but less visceral in practice. They relied more on software than instinct. The W211, by contrast, was honest. Its mechanical nature created a connection between car and driver that could be felt in every surge of torque, every shift, every restrained growl. That honesty is why the W211 E55 AMG remains so beloved today. Owners and collectors often describe it as the last truly analog AMG, a machine that combined massive power with minimal interference. It offered traction control and stability systems, of course, but they worked quietly in the background. The driver always felt in charge. That sense of control, of being part of the machine rather than managed by it, is what modern cars often struggle to replicate. The E55 rewarded skill and confidence. It didn't protect you from yourself, it partnered with you. Beyond performance, the W211 E55 AMG also marked a cultural shift in how people viewed luxury cars. Before it, most buyers expected comfort, safety, and style, but not necessarily speed. After it, expectations changed. The E55 proved that a car could be both practical and thrilling, both elegant and aggressive. It gave rise to an entirely new consumer mindset, that performance didn't have to be reserved for exotic sports cars. You could have it all in one package. This philosophy spread throughout the industry, influencing competitors and pushing manufacturers to rethink what a four-door sedan could be. The E55 AMG also played a major role in solidifying AMG's identity within Mercedes-Benz. Before the W211, AMG was still finding its footing as an in-house division. With this model, it proved its worth beyond question. It showed that AMG could create something that not only met Mercedes standards but elevated them. The car's success on the market validated AMG's integration into the corporate structure. It wasn't just an aftermarket tuner anymore, it was a cornerstone of Mercedes' brand identity. Without the W211's success, the later expansion of AMG's lineup might not have happened so quickly or confidently. There's also an emotional legacy tied to the E55 AMG. For many owners, it represented a bridge between eras. It captured the tactile, mechanical essence of performance driving just before electronics began to dominate. When you drove it, you felt the machinery working with you, the supercharger's hum, the suspension's subtle adjustments, the instant torque. There was no artificial noise or simulated feedback. Everything you felt and heard was real. That purity of experience created a deep connection between driver and machine, something that enthusiasts still crave in an increasingly digital automotive world. Over time, the W211 E55 AMG developed a cult following. Enthusiast communities across the world began restoring, modifying, and preserving these cars. They saw in the E55 not just a fast sedan, but a milestone in automotive history, a reminder of when performance engineering was about passion and precision rather than algorithms. In the used market, values began to stabilize as collectors recognized its significance. Well-maintained examples became prized possessions, not for rarity, but for character. Few cars managed to age so gracefully, maintaining their appeal long after their successors have faded from memory. Part of the E55's enduring respect comes from its balance of power and practicality. Unlike many supercars, it was never fragile or temperamental. It was built to be used, to cover miles with confidence. Owners drove them daily, commuted in them, road tripped across countries, and still found joy in their sheer capability. That usability gave the E55 a legacy far beyond the track or the garage. It became part of people's lives, not just their collections. That's a rare quality, and one that defines truly great automobiles. Even today, when modern AMGs boast hybrid systems and complex electronics, the W211 E55 AMG stands as a reference point. Journalists and enthusiasts still compare new models to it, searching for that same mix of comfort, immediacy, and character. The supercharged V8 has become a symbol of simpler, more emotional engineering, a time when power was felt directly, not filtered through computer logic. It reminds people that performance isn't just about numbers, it's about feeling. The legacy of the W211 E55 AMG also extends to how it influenced future car design philosophy. Its quiet confidence encouraged a generation of designers to tone down excess and focus on proportion and purpose. It proved that restraint could be powerful, that you didn't need aggressive styling to make an impact. Many modern sedans still follow that blueprint, combining elegance with muscular cues in a way that feels timeless. The E55's design, both inside and out, aged so well because it was never chasing trends. It was built on principle, not fashion. As technology advanced, AMG continued to evolve. But even with twin-turbo V8s and hybrid systems, the soul of the W211 still lingers in the brand's DNA. The philosophy of creating cars that can dominate a racetrack and then glide through city traffic without drama remains core to AMG's identity. Every time a new AMG model is released, the E55's ghost lingers in the background, quietly asking whether the new car still carries that same balance of refinement and rawness. Ultimately, the W211 E55 AMG's greatest legacy is emotional rather than mechanical. It represents a rare moment when a manufacturer achieved near-perfect equilibrium between power, purpose, and personality. It reminds us that engineering at its best is both an art and a science, that true performance lies not in overwhelming complexity, but in simplicity executed with mastery. The E55 didn't need to be loud to be legendary. It earned its place through precision, consistency, and authenticity. The world may have moved on to turbochargers, hybrids, and electric motors, but the lessons of the E55 remain relevant. It showed that a car could be extraordinary without being extreme, and that sophistication could amplify excitement rather than mute it. That's why enthusiasts still speak its name with respect. It's not nostalgia, it's recognition. Recognition that some machines capture lightning in a bottle, and once that moment passes, it can never quite be recreated. In the final reflection, the Mercedes-Benz W211 E55 AMG is more than just a car. It is a statement of what happens when engineers are given the freedom to chase perfection and the wisdom to stop just before overcomplication. The Mercedes-Benz W211 E55 AMG stands as proof that greatness often hides in plain sight. When it arrived in 2003, it did not seek attention with wings or neon, yet those who drove it quickly realized they were sitting in something extraordinary. It was a sedan that could run with the world's finest sports cars while keeping its passengers in calm, confident comfort. And in that quiet power, it reshaped the idea of what a performance car could be. Looking back now, its significance has only grown clearer. The W211 E55 AMG taught an entire industry that performance is not just about acceleration, it is about harmony. The supercharged 5.4-liter V8, the balanced chassis, the precision tuning, each part complemented the others. The car delivered power not as a spectacle but as an experience. That approach inspired engineers far beyond AMG, proving that you could engineer excitement without sacrificing elegance. It showed that refinement and raw speed were not opposites but partners. Today, many cars are faster, more advanced, and more efficient, yet few feel as alive as the W211 E55 AMG. Its legacy endures because it bridged eras, the analog and the digital, the mechanical and the intelligent. It remains a reference point for those who believe that driving should still involve connection and emotion. Owners who still hold onto their E55s often describe them as timeless, not because of nostalgia, but because the experience they offer has never truly been replicated. For Mercedes-AMG, the W211 was more than a success, it was a statement. It proved that performance could be sophisticated and that true luxury could move with breathtaking purpose. Every AMG model that followed has owed something to it, whether through philosophy or engineering lineage. The DNA of the E55 still pulses through every modern AMG V8. You can feel it in the balance between power and polish, in the confidence that comes from invisible strength. 2 decades later, the W211 E55 AMG remains one of those rare cars that transcends its era. It speaks to drivers who value authenticity, who appreciate the subtle craft of engineering excellence, and who believe that speed should feel natural, not forced. It is a reminder that perfection does not come from excess, but from restraint. That is why, even in a world of hybrid hypercars and silent electric rockets, the sound of that supercharged V8 still stirs something unique, a human connection to mechanical brilliance. The story of the W211 E55 AMG is not just about power, it is about the art of balance. It represents the moment when one of the world's greatest automakers and its performance division found perfect sync. It stands as a monument to intelligent strength and understated confidence. And that is why its legend continues to grow, quietly but powerfully, just like the car itself. E&D, the script is complete.